For this block of issue and crisis communication, 4 communication consulting teams were asked to develop an issue communication strategy on how to prevent companies in the food and beverage industry from a greenwashing crisis.
Hello, my name is Nuria and I'm part of team number 5 that was consulting Nestlé.
My name is Najma and I'm representing team 3 and we are consulting Coca-Cola on how to avoid recyclability claims.
My name is Jade Ling and here I am representing the capstone group 7 to figure out a issue management plan for Unilever about their connection with the deforestation in Indonesia about palm oil supply.
My name is Joanna, I'm representing Team 2. Our team looked at how the pollution of the River Wye is being debated in the media and how Tesco should respond to avoid further negative associations with its role in polluting the river.
Our issue was mainly that Nestlé implemented misleading eco-claims in their plastic bottles about that they were 100% recyclable. It was going to be hard because Nestlé is also facing a reputational crisis, so we had to figure out how to avoid this issue to have even a worse reputational impact.
Our first impression was regarding the growing concern about the corporate sustainability claims. The challenge we faced for Coca-Cola was knowing the necessity of transparency and accountability, and this is what we decided to work on.
On the 2nd of March of 2024, Tesco was in the spotlight in the media due to a report by WWF that omitted Tesco's connection to the pollution of the River Wye. This topic gained a lot of attention in the media arena, also because of external factors such as the UK government, which is very concerned about water safety and water quality currently.
What is really discussed about the issue is the European deforestation regulation, because this regulation forbids companies and manufacturers to source materials that will cause deforestation. However, in Southeastern Asia, they are worrying, they're concerned if this kind of regulation will damage or threatens the livelihood of smallholders. So there are these discussions between the two stakeholders in this issue.
To find out the main actors in the debate, we use a position importance matrix. And based on that, we found out that the most important and also the antagonistic stakeholders were the government and the NGOs.
Based on the pastel analysis, we came to understanding that there were a lot of factors involved, like environmental, political, and economical. Actors in the debate are regulatory bodies, environmental activists, and consumer advocacy groups.
A lot of NGOs and local communities in the UK are very invested in this topic and are engaging in protests and questioning Tesco and its actions. This is an issue that has been happening for the last 3 years at least, with recurring protests from NGOs and local communities, and also legal challenges and actions against Tesco and its supply chain.
We can identify several stakeholders and their arguments. The first one will be the activist group like Greenpeace and Friend of the Earth or Rainforest Action Network. Another stakeholder is of course Unilever, and their effort is to make their supply chain as transparent as possible, and also they're working with their sustainable palm oil scheme, that is RSPO, to build a more comprehensive standards for palm oil sourcing.
To identify where the issue was taking place, we did a media analysis and we used the Meltwater tool. We looked into the news and also X in social media, and we can see the mention trend, it's quite similar, and the main peak is on the 7th of November 2023. The sentiments are a bit different because in the news, of course the news needs to be neutral because the aim is informing. But in social media, we can see that it's mainly negative. We identified that there were a lot of negative comments on YouTube and also negative videos.
What's interesting insight we had from the Meltwater analytics was the top location was the UK actually. The mentions were mostly on the news. And for the share of voice by engagement about the other competitors and other parties engaged with Coca-Cola on the recycling claims, we found that Coca-Cola and Danone were actually hand in hand having the same engagement. For the top publications by editorial reach, we realized that the main news outlets that are raising concern about the issue are Daily Mails and The Independent.
So when we look into the top location and also the sentiment of the issue, there's a few interesting facts. The first one is that the sentiment is drastically different between different regions. For example, in Indonesia, there are fewer negative sentiment, but in UK and the US, the negative sentiment is far higher. And also when we look into the top organization, we can see some organization that doesn't really have a connection with Indonesia, but they are still in the list because they are also about rainforest. So for example, Amazon or the fund like NGOs about the Amazon rainforest.
Given the interest and involvement of antagonistic groups such as NGOs and charities and local communities, as well as the UK government and regulators, and also customers and employees that are against Tesco's actions, as well as the negative sentiment in earned and shared media, it is important to avoid these negative perceptions and images that are being created to increase and become even more damaging to Tesco's reputation.
To develop an accurate communication strategy, we also looked into Nestlé's previous responses. What they have been doing is greenlighting, collectivization, and that now they really need to take action. So we came up with the idea of a bridging strategy. First, to mitigate the issue and prevent it to become a crisis. Secondly, to regain the trust of stakeholders and improve their Nestlé's image. And finally, to inform stakeholders about what Nestlé is actually doing, what are the plastic recycling practices, and show them that Nestlé is taking action.
We came up with this bridging strategy because we thought that revising and reforming policies while trying to address stakeholders in order to communicate better was of utmost importance. Our objective is to equip Coca-Cola with tools and strategies in order to mitigate the problem associated with greenwashing. So basically what we did was to advise Coca-Cola to spread the message across different media channels, the message of transparency, action-orientedness, and the empathetic message.
Since Unilever is being investigated by the CMA right now, we believe that a bridging strategy will be a good way to communicate about their past issues, for example, palm oil and deforestation, because this investigation have the potential power to put Unilever in a position that will be largely criticized for, let's say, greenwashing and the issue that is related to environmental damage.
So it is important for them to try to avoid being led into a crisis with this problem with the pollution of the River Wye, and they should do this mainly by engaging in honest and transparent conversations with its stakeholders. They can do this by combining a strategy of rectification and remediation. We suggest that the strategy should focus on rented, paid, and corporate-owned channels, since it will highlight the authenticity of the message and the Tesco's commitment to return the River Wye to a healthy state.
We think that if Nestlé applies this strategy, they will successfully mitigate the issue and prevent it to become a crisis. But they need to be careful in the sense that this is a long-term solution. So Nestlé needs to invest not only money, but also time, because reputation is not something that comes back quick.
We believe that by using the strategy, Coca-Cola can address the issue and build trust among stakeholders.
If Tesco sticks to the advice we have provided, we are confident that the pollution of the River Wye will stay as an issue and we will prevent it from escalating into a crisis. However, if further reports expose Tesco's unsustainable practices, then it might compromise Tesco's image and also impact their reputation. But overall, we are confident with the advice we have provided.